Hey y'all, it's Tabitha and welcome back to my channel. This is super informal. Not that I've been formal recently anyway, but right now I'm actually in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and I've got a little bit of time and I keep seeing this comment in a scrupulosity group. So I figured I'd come address it really quick. Why doesn't God take my thoughts away? I see this now, and I understand that while you're in, and I did wash my hair, so it's still a little wet. I understand that while you're in the throes of OCD, that it can be very discouraging. It feels like it's never going to stop. It feels like God should snap his fingers and should just deliver you from this thing. And I just want to tell you this: when God took the Israelites out of Egypt, he did not snap his fingers and they were in the promised land and everything was better. He didn't do that. He intentionally took them to the Red Sea. Now, when he got to the he intentionally led them to a place of impossibility. Led them to a place of impossibility. Because they were about to go in the wilderness. And they needed God to show himself faithful in that moment to be able to build faith. So God intentionally leads them to a place when they're right in front of the Red Sea where there's no place to escape. Literally no place to escape. So that he can part the Red Sea. Not to show himself, not just show his power off for the sake of showing off, but to build faith in a feeble-minded people. So that as they went into the wilderness and into the promised land, they would know he was on their side and he was going to take care of them. This is part of the reason why there's such a stain on them, because God proved himself faithful so many times, and yet they just were hard-headed and stubborn and stiff-necked is what he called them. Now, hear what I'm saying. Don't let OCD snatch onto this. The point I'm trying to make is this: that God delivered them for the purpose of building their faith, so that they got into tight places they knew God would continue to deliver them. And sometimes, and a lot of, but, my point of even bringing that up is this: because God wasn't going to teleport them. God was not going to teleport them to the promised land. He wasn't going to snap his fingers and they were there. They are going to go through challenging times where they will need to know that God is on their side. And so God led them there to a place where he would deliver them, so that when times got tough and tight, they would know that God was with them, that God was for them, that God made a promise and they were going to get to where they were going because God said it, period. Okay? So I preface all that with this. I'm sorry. I couldn't find a good place to really put my phone. Why doesn't God take my thoughts away? In the moment, I know it's hard and you don't understand. But now looking back, I see that you're wanting deliverance the easy way. You want God to snap his fingers and it be done, because you see all the pain. But what you don't understand is God has given you a way out, but you just don't know how to take it. Can God snap his fingers and cause these things to go away? Yes, he can. That would be great. What would you learn from that, though? What would you learn from that? I know this is really, really, really hard, but this is why I'm beginning to see a lot of the people in these groups, they don't understand. They may know they have OCD, but they don't understand how OCD works. And if you don't understand how it works, you're not going to address it in such a way that, and we want instant gratification because we've been through so much pain and torment. I understand. But let me encourage you in this. I learned an exorbitant amount of things, spiritually speaking and physiologically speaking, through the last few years, dealing with my OCD, dealing with it as in living through it, and then dealing with it as in dealing with it. It was not easy. But I can tell you on the other side of it, I'm a whole different person. Because it's not that I took control of the situation in the sense of, the irony was me taking control of the situation was actually me letting go of the situation. We get, and I will encourage you to go back to my videos, a few videos ago, talking about why you're stuck and why it's a losing battle. Why, there's two videos, they're back to back. One is like, why are you still stuck? And the other one is talking about why OCD is like a cult leader. I know the problem is not the thoughts themselves. And I know that sounds crazy, but the thoughts themselves are not the problem. It's your response to and I'm not saying this is your fault. We can't help that we're given what we're given. We can't help that we live in a fallen world and our brains are dysfunction. What we can help is how we respond to it. And so this is where you are in more control than you think. You can learn how OCD operates and how to respond to the thoughts. That's what you can do. And that's the only thing you can do. Learn how to control, not learn. You cannot control the thoughts. You can't control them. You can't stop them. What you can control is how you respond to the thoughts. And the irony is when you learn how to control, how to respond to the thoughts have less and less power, and they get quieter and quieter and less frequent, and life gets better. But through this, you learn to trust the Lord in a way you probably never have. And on the other side of this, I'm more free than I've ever been in my entire life because I dealt with OCD like OCD demands. I've got several videos. I plan to begin to make more of a series breaking things down because I know with OCD we're so terrified we want to be certain that we're doing the right thing. Nevertheless, why? Because if snapping his fingers and freeing you was better than actually learning to deal with it, he would do it. And he's not mean. Matter of fact, I'm grateful. I am grateful for it. Grateful. Exorbitantly grateful. And this is the beautiful thing about suffering as a child of God, is that he redeems it. Today, my child, I had given her, she's 11, I had given her money. She went to a youth conference. I gave her money. My other child snitched. She snitched. Okay, she snitched. And she was like, your child they went to the beach. Your child bought $15 worth of sand stuff and then just left it. She just left it. I told her, the counselor told her, go back and get it. And she didn't. She said, no, I don't care. I don't want it. And now, her not listening to the counselor, a whole nother issue. We'll deal with that. Or not in this video. I'll deal with it later. But I was very bothered by the fact that I'm like, wait a minute. I gave you money. I worked very hard for it. You could care less. So it was nothing for you to leave my stuff on the beach. So in that moment, as a parent, I could choose, all right, do I just let it go? It's fine. It's grace. Or do I recognize that this is a pattern, that she is not being a good steward and she is not appreciating what I'm giving her, and I am going to have to discipline her. And and accept the fact that in the moment she is not going to like me. And don't hear me say that OCD is God disciplining you. That's not what I'm saying. But he will use it to prune things off of you. Um, to think that none of us have anything that needs to be pruned out of us, that's just simply not true. So in the moment, I can choose to be like, it's okay, baby, it's fine. Or I could go, well, this is not a good pattern. I'm beginning to see a pattern where maybe you're getting too nonchalant about, like, maybe I'm spoiling you too much. Maybe you are not valuing because I'm doing too much of this, and so I need to draw back so that I can teach you a lesson, and you're not going to like it now. You're going to be upset with me now, but because I love you, I'm not going to continue to allow you. It would be selfish of me to be like, it's fine, it's no big deal. It would be selfish of me because I don't want her to not like me. So do I love her, or do I love myself more? That's the question. Who do I love more, her or me? Because ultimately, I don't want her to not like me is a self-centered feeling. So God is not self-centered at all. So he will allow us to go through hardships to teach us lessons, not as a vindictive God, malicious, none of that. But he will allow the fallen nature of the world, us to experience that to bring us to a place of growth, maturity, increase our faith. We want things handed to us. We want it easy. And I am not saying OCD is a whole different ballgame. I get it. Trust me, I know. But I'll be just real honest with you that wishing that God would take the thoughts away from you, I get it. It's painful, but it leaves you in a place of helplessness. But not good helplessness, but like a place of victimhood where you think there's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do. There's not a whole lot you can do, but you also need to change your frame of mind. You're not trying to control the thoughts and stop the thoughts from coming. You need to address how you respond to the thoughts. Understand you can't control the thoughts and respond differently, because it's how you respond that keeps the thoughts coming. Unfortunately, we exacerbate our own OCD because we don't learn how to deal with it. So you can research OCD. If you don't have a therapist that is specialized in OCD, if you have access to that, do that. Someone who knows what they're doing and dealing with OCD. If you don't have access to that, I didn't have access to it for 2 years. YouTube is full of stuff, okay? Look up OCD, learn OCD, learn how it works. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's not going to make sense. When you're learning how to respond to OCD, it's going to feel very wrong. But it's the right thing to do. And ultimately, what it helps you to recognize is you're not really in control. You're not really in control. You're not strong enough to hold on to yourself. You're going to have to learn to trust God in a whole way, a whole different way. You're not helpless. There are things you can do, but it's going to take courage. You're going to have to be courageous. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, and it's going to be terrifying. But it's possible. And you're not doing it by yourself. So I'm glad God didn't take my thoughts away. He would have absolutely 1,000% robbed me. When I say that, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being sensational. I'm not I mean what I say when I say had I am thankful he did not fix it. He would have robbed me of what I got on the other side of it. Robbed me. So this is where trusting the Lord comes into play. And I know it's hard, but this is not God's fault. He's not mad at you. He wants what's best for you. He loves you. And he will help you. It's just not going to look like what you think it'll look like. Deliverance rarely comes in the form we think it should come. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know it's hard. But there's a way out. There's a way out. You're not helpless. Okay? You are not helpless. You're just going to have to... It's going to feel like jumping off a cliff with no parachute. It is. But to thank God that he's going to get you. You will learn about his faithfulness in a way that him snapping his fingers would not teach you. Okay? I love you. Reach out if you need help. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm going to get ready now. Okay, love you. Bye.